Oh my gosh. Are we doing this? We are. Oh, wait. And I had his bio pulled up. Okay, I think we are going. Are we doing it? Is it happening? Let's see. Yes, we are live. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Let me just make sure this is live on my page. It is live. I'm so excited, everybody. It's me, Aasha T. Welcome, welcome. I am going to just go ahead and tag JC in this post. We're just about to get started. I'm going to be going live here with JC, Jamar Camper, the intellectual sniper. I cannot wait for him to come on and get started and just share with you about himself and about the work that he is doing for the collective. Oh my gosh, it's like next level. I've been connecting with him so much as of recent, and I just feel like I'm so excited for this chat. We have so many similarities in the work that we do. And I'm looking forward to just getting into his mind and hopefully sharing some amazing nuggets of wisdom with you. Jamar is known as the intellectual sniper, and he's a two-time best-selling author, including a growing favorite among women, The Day She Learned Chess. He's also a speaker and a mindset coach, and he changes lives with his conventional method. Some don't like his post, but no one can deny his words strike a powerful blow and penetrate the mind deeply. I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Yay! Awesome. Okay, can you hear me? He's muted.
Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Hello. I'm so excited that you are here today. Thank you so much for coming on with me.
Number one, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your platform.
It is my absolute pleasure. I love doing these shows. The show is called The Vibe, and it is all about you and what you are bringing into the world, into the collective. I've got to say, I've seen you around before, but recently I'm just like so into your content. I cannot even believe how I just want to reflect back to you. It's like this super potent truth that you have. Like you can feel it. It's like, oh my God, this guy like really knows who he is, and he's really like integrated a lot of your own shit. So I just wanted to reflect that back to you. It's really refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think content should reflect the person. And of course, one has to know themselves in order to be powerful. So I start there to kind of have a potent message.
Yeah, I want to hear like about you. I mean, there's so much to unpack. I just read to the audience a little bit about you being a two-time best-selling author, and you also have written 5 books. But do you want to take us on a little journey on how you got started into this work and how you started writing?
Well, I've been writing since I was a teenager, writing different stories and, of course, my own accounts of my own life, different things I experienced. But I, uh, I would say I started in the work because I work in real estate,
Mhm.
commercial real estate, actually. And so I would speak to clients about their personal lives because I would spend all day with them. And so when you're touring all day with properties and seeing all types of, I would say, opportunities, they give you the chance to dig into their personal lives. So you might start out talking about what building that they're interested in, but next thing you know, when you're spending 8 to 10 hours with someone, they're going to definitely tell the details of their lives. And so they were telling me about their relationships, they were telling me about what's going on with their kids, etc. And from there, I would never, because commercial real estate is very button up, it's very conservative, things like that. But when someone's telling you about their personal life, obviously, they want some type of volume. And so from that standpoint, I started to give my personal opinion back. And slowly but surely, people would tell me, hey, you should probably either start a blog or maybe you want to start a page or some sort, YouTube. And that's when I finally just got the gumption to start my own platform.
That's amazing. So yeah, so basically it just sounds like you're describing emotional intelligence and actually connecting to people like authentically.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like someone's confirming your gift in a way.
Yeah.
Enough people telling you the same thing. Eventually, you're gonna have to just take that leap of faith and jump out there and see what happens. Now, of course, I didn't wake up and say I want to be a content creator. It really just one by one, people started to tell me, hey, maybe you should think about this, maybe you should think about that. And I just got online and, started stating my opinion. Of course, I didn't always have this page. A lot of people already know that I was on my personal page for probably 2.5 years. But I learned that, hey, if you actually want to reach more people, you probably have to start a second page. And then that's when I started this page and I started to reach more people.
That's amazing. And so, like, let's talk a little bit about your journey into like writing and getting like these big, because you have to go through wake up calls in order to really understand like energy the way that you understand it. Is there
Mhm.
anything in particular that catapulted that for you?
Well, I mean, I always say there's a difference between a writer and an author. There's millions and millions and millions of writers out there, but it really takes faith to be an author. And
Mhm.
so I believe that I took the combination of the stories I wrote as a teenager, and I finally just had the faith to say, I want to be an author. Now, I always do share this personal story about how my ex's father, he told me at one time to not be an author. He told me, hey, you don't have the name, you're not famous, you don't have the credentials, you don't have the educational background to be an author. And so I did let that affect me a
Yeah.
little bit. I did let that get to me. And I stopped writing because my first book is called Supernatural Confidence. And
Oh,
it's funny enough, that was in wow 16 17, and I stopped writing that book because of what he said. And then eventually I just got out of that haze. I just shook it off and said, hey, you know what, even though I don't have a name, even though I'm not famous, I don't have the credentials, I'm still going to write this book. And I can't
yeah.
worry about what he's talking about. I can't worry about his opinion. I
Yeah.
can't let what he's saying stop me. And so from that point of view, that's when I really said, okay, you know what, I'm still just going to write the book. And that's when the pandemic had just started. And even with the pandemic, I said, I don't care. I'm still going to finish this book.
Good for you. Yeah. That is, oh my God, that's honestly, that's so relatable. My book, I'm not the best writer. Like if you ever read any of my posts, there's spelling mistakes. Sometimes like I'm like tagging a random person in the middle of the post. Like I
Uh,
just don't have like speaking is way more of my area of expertise, but I knew that the book needed to be birthed. My book is called The Empath is the Narcissist. It's a 5 out of 10, like maybe even a 4 out of 10. But
uh,
on the other hand, there's people that have had their lives transformed for $29. And they're like, holy shit, your story is so relatable. I just knew I needed to get the book out. Like, I just was
Absolutely.
like, I don't care. I
Oh,
don't. Oh, wow.
sorry.
This is awesome. Nightclub. Okay, we got a few people watching, guys. If you are watching, feel free to go ahead and ask questions. Jamar is here too. We can dig into his mind and his wisdom. So feel free to get involved. Yeah, so I can really relate to that. I mean, I have let like outside forces sort of like I'm pretty easily like swayed. At least I was before I built up my resilience. Can you relate to that at all?
Absolutely. I mean, and then see, that's the whole thing. The book is called Supernatural Confidence, and I
Correct.
was letting someone deter me. They were completely taking me off path. And so that's what the book is about. That particular book is
Isn't
about
that odd? It's like
letting,
that's like there's a story, a shaman, there's a saying that's like, oh, the man says to the shaman, how will I know my ally? And then the
right.
shaman says, oh, he's the one that's going to try to kill you. So like the book wouldn't have maybe even been birthed if it weren't for that man.
Absolutely. I definitely had to take that out. And I guess you could say I couldn't let, like you said, the outside forces completely stop my journey.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So tell us a little bit about how you started to get into like the polarity piece and the masculine and the feminine energies. I'd love to hear about that because I will say, and I want to point this out to the audience as well. Interestingly enough, once you get that confidence piece, which is like your rock solid pillar, believe it or not, the masculine and the feminine dynamics come after that. There is like a bit of an order of ascension. I don't know if you can relate to what I'm sharing there.
Well, I've already shared the story. I was once close to marriage and we did not make it. But that was kind of really the start of learning, my masculinity and respecting and honoring her feminine energy, right? And so I had a life-changing dinner with the ex that I was supposed to marry. And I'd asked the questions that most men probably are afraid to ask about themselves at this dinner. And I think the answers from that dinner really just changed the course of how I thought about relationships. Because most of the time when you break up, you're more just thinking about, oh, I wasn't the problem, it was never me, things like that. But I think when you see that mirror in your face, you start to really learn, okay, I really need to take some self assessment, do some self evaluation to learn how can I actually lead. And I will admit, in that particular relationship, I was not a leader. I was great at so many other things, but I was not doing probably the number one thing that probably would have made the relationship more successful. So that was my introduction into the more polarity piece.
God, that's so relatable because it sounds like I was similar to your first wife in my first marriage, or rather your fiance, she was, right? I was really like, so I was leading the relationship. I mean, I ended up leading us right off a cliff, essentially, of divorce, and you see it in
Mhm.
hindsight. And I think you're right. I think you kind of either tend to take responsibility, shift that, and go really deep into the darkness of like your own power, where you
Mhm.
do have to go into that dark place, or you become the victim of like your own creation. And yeah, I don't know if you had anything to add about that for the audience. We got quite a few people watching now. So it's exciting. I love this.
Well, it's kind of like you either going to transform your life or you're going to self-identify with the failure of the relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so easy to take a relationship that quote unquote failed and you just say, well, that's the other person's fault. I never did anything to do that. And a lot of people, easily just move on to the next relationship. And then when that one fails, you say, well, it's still that person. It just kind of repeats itself in a cycle
Oh, yeah.
until you really sit down with self, really take the time and say, hey, you know what? I did contribute to the failure of that relationship. And
Mhm.
that's okay as long as I own it. That's why I have a chapter in the new audiobook called Own Your Shit, because until you own your shit, you can't really move forward. So I had to own that I was not a leader. I had to own that I was not the man that woman needed to be, that I needed to be for that woman. And
Yes.
once I did that, now I can move forward and be that for myself, number one, because I have to lead myself in order to lead a woman. But then I can be that quote unquote, husband when it's time.
Oh, yeah, I love this. So hot. And it's such a vibe. I mean, I cannot even tell you how clean your energy feels. Like it's just like, in fact, it's been a really huge catapult for me in the last like month because it's actually been ricocheting back like a codependency. And I mean, we're just connecting now, just starting to connect, but I'm like, holy fuck, like the codependency thing is so big. In fact, it's why men tend to be controlling from like a darker place and why women tend to think they can't do it on their own. And I just
Mhm.
want to say, like, your energy field is like amalgamating the two of those together. So it's really, really powerful. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about like what you did to help yourself heal as a man and like get into that? Are there any tips that as a man that you can share with the audience?
Well, I think some isolation is very healthy and powerful because
Mhm.
I do think most of the time when we break up as men, we're surrounded by, you know, hey, just go out, just go, get other girls, go out to the club, go out to the bar, go out to party. And so I do think when you're going through a breakup like that or any type of breakup, there's like overstimulation and then you're drinking a lot, you're doing a lot of things that's really distracting you from self.
Hmm.
And so I think reading books, spending time with myself, and just really writing down a lot of key questions of what really happened in that relationship. What really happened with myself. If I was feeling any type of negative emotions, I had to ask myself, where are these negative emotions coming from?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we do have misdirected anger at our people that we claim that we love, and we don't. And when we sit down with ourselves, we say, you know what? I was arguing with this person, but I was really mad at this situation that happened 5 years ago. I was really mad at this situation that happened 10 years ago. I'm really mad at my mom. I'm really mad at my dad. I'm really mad at, I'm going to be real. Some people are even mad at maybe the fact that they were bullied in high school or college or whatever. And
Yeah,
now that misdirected anger is taken into relationships.
so true. In fact, my course is in self-worth for this reason. I'm like, I don't even know if people realize like how deep the self-worth piece goes. I always say it's like almost the way you're describing it, it's like you have to go back so far to really, if you desire to have like hot polarized relationships where you can even receive the level of masculine direction and leadership that I believe so many women want and can't
Mhm.
seem to get out of their own way. And really, I think a lot of men want that as well. They want to be deeply loved and they want to be cherished.
Of
And
course.
I think that they're kind of even blocking themselves. So yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and asking those poignant questions about your role and the self-responsibility. I think that is something that's like such a game changer. In fact, we've got a comment here from Ella Shiva, one of my clients. She's the best. Yes to owning your shit. Men and women. I'm talking to a man right now, and he owns his shit, and damn, it's so sexy, she says. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to own your shit. In
Yeah.
order to lead, you got to own your shit. It's the only way to be powerful. Because I believe that when the man owns his shit, the woman says, you know what? I'm going to also follow that example to be accountable as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I want to hear a little bit about your perspective on like discernment in this particular moment. I know as someone who when you hold that high level of wisdom, naturally we can see other people's, wounds and areas. Is there anything in particular that you can share with people about discernment and your own journey with discernment?
Well, I mean, I think wisdom takes time because the thing is, you can ask for wisdom and you can say, I want to be more wise, but then can you handle the responsibility of that?
Oh,
So I think in my own journey, I was quote unquote praying for wisdom and praying that I'm, more wise, but I probably was not ready for that at times. So I think a person has to ask themselves, okay, if I'm asking to be this, am I prepared for it? Are you prepared for the blessing that you're asking for? That's something I always, ask people in sessions. I think, and when you get to discernment, I think you have to know when to speak and when to shut up. When to be a source of inspiration and when to kind of just be silent, maybe just have a presence with someone versus thinking that you need to say every little piece. Because most of the time, if you are extremely wise, people are not ready for everything you have to say. People are
yeah.
not prepared for that. And so it's like wisdom on top of wisdom, right? Like knowing when to say it and knowing how to say it. So don't just ask your source, God, your religion, whatever, for wisdom. Ask for the discernment to know, well, when should I say stuff? And when should I just shut up and not play any role in a situation?
Oh God, that is so good. Man, I can really relate to that because I have a really high sight and
Mhm.
I also have like I can be like a little bit it was a big journey for me and what we're talking about into empathy and like not wanting to like force people to see what I could see, which, really doesn't always work. Occasionally, I work with a lot of high achieving women, so sometimes you have to like throw the bite down. But like it was a big, I don't know if you can relate to that, where it's like it's almost like where you're serving wisdom in a way that is palatable and understandable, but also empathetic to those that may haven't received like the uncovering of their particular veil.
Right, absolutely. No, I definitely can relate to that because sometimes even within clients, there's something I need to reveal, but I'm like I'm going to hold off on that because this person is still in a certain sauna, emotional place where they can't handle what I'm about to say. So
Yeah.
I definitely 100% I relate to that.
Oh my gosh, that's what you just shared there. Like I'll have these women clients that will come like for the sexual energy and like this like, feminine allure, and they're still in a space where they don't feel safe inside. And so sometimes I've gone too fast and I'm like, I gotta come back like down to here where
Right.
I can talk to them. Which I love. That's what I love about emotional intelligence, because you kind of have that, I call it like energetic flexibility, um,
Mhm.
where you're able to like go up and down the ladder based on the client. So let's kind of transition now, Jamar. You're awesome. I'm so happy that we're doing this. We've got a bunch of people watching. I just said, everybody, please feel free to ask questions if you guys want to ask anything. I want to talk about your new book, The Day She Learned. What is it? The Day She Learned to. I just want to make sure I got that right. I don't. Here, you can tell us. You're the author. What's
Um,
the name of the book? And yeah, The Day She Learned Chess. Tell us a little bit about this book.
the Day She Learned Chess has been out for a while. It's but I did do a part two to it recently with the audiobook. But the
Okay.
Day She Learned Chess is a book for women, and I really just dig deep into certain different avenues that women are going through in certain situations. I talk about how low self-esteem does affect a woman's life experience, and how a lot of women are not cognizant of that. They just know that they're experiencing a lot of emotions, but they don't know where they're coming from. They don't know the source. They don't identify, the source of where they might be experiencing this from. I also talk about mother-daughter relationships and how that deeply affects how a woman looks at herself. Also affects her sexuality. Also affects how she deals with men, or any type of serious relationship as well. So I dig really, really deep, of course, into the romantic aspect as far as why a woman might be experiencing the same situations over and over again. And
Mhm.
of course, self accountability is super important, but also the mental outlook that a lot of women have that they're not cognizant of. So it really delves deep into about 4 or 5 different topics. Of course, I talk about sex extensively as well. A lot of women don't know their bodies.
Mhm.
A lot of women don't know what they like, what they don't like, because they look at sex as something dirty. Now, as I promote heavily that a woman's sexuality is a part of her,
Mhm.
it's a part of her like her right arm. Of course, a lot of women try to separate it and say, well, I'm a person, but my sexuality is something totally separate. And that causes a lot of friction in relationships. And that's why a lot of relationships don't work out, because the woman looks at her sexuality as something separate.
Yeah.
And I look at it as it's a part of you. If you want to be the best wife, we have to look at it as it's a part of you. You want to be the best lover, you have to look at it that it's a part of you. It's a natural part of you. Now you can get into the semantics of what's proper and not, but you know I don't get too deep into that. I more want the woman to focus on, she needs to be in her body. She needs to love her body. Of course, if she wants to make certain improvements, then that's self accountability. But it all starts with self love.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so, so, so true. You're hitting on so much there. I can really relate to that woman where I was so disconnected from my body. I didn't even know how to feel. I think that comes in, even still, I'm not sure how you feel with your clients, but occasionally I'm like, okay, well, how does that make you feel? And they're like, well, I'm mad at him. Or sometimes they don't even use an emotion to describe how they feel. I have to bring them back to the literal, I don't know if you know the tool, the emotions wheel, but it's a great tool.
Oh,
And
sorry.
no, you're okay. I love this. We get a little night disco. Yeah, the emotions wheel is like this tool that has like 130 different emotions on it. And sometimes I'll give it to women and they'll be like, I have never like even thought to describe this. And it's amazing to watch women come back into their body. You know, a lot of it too is the sensation of love and the power that women actually have. It can feel really uncomfortable in a woman's body to hold that much sexual energy and
Right.
hold. That's why women have a hard time even saving money. You
Right.
know, it's like they have to like flick it away, or like they'll get a masculine man and then they're like, "Ah, let me get out of here," you know, because the covering can feel bad. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, about the covering and maybe even like the father wound or anything that might be at play with women?
Well, I think number one, see, a lot of women, they'll say, well, I want a masculine man. But then when they actually meet a masculine man, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know this was happening. Like, what's going on with me, or what's happening to me? Or why is this feeling so weird, without knowing that I say a masculine man is going to regulate your sexuality,
Mhm.
right? I put very direct things, like I have in the book. I talk about a woman should say, I love sex. A woman should say, I love to come. A woman should say, I enjoy great sex. Identify with that, because a lot of women look at it as, oh, this is nasty, or I'm dirty, I'm filthy. When no, that's not the case at all. So a woman has to be open to the covering of a masculine man, because that's the only way she can get deeper into her sexuality, right? And the father wound is the missing piece of, unfortunately, a lot of women, they're looking for a father figure in different men, right? You're expecting him to take on that responsibility. And of course, he's in his own world, probably doesn't really recognize that or own that. So that's something else women have to realize, like, hey, a reason why a lot of your situations didn't work out or didn't pan to anything is because you were looking for him to be a father.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't know how to do that, right? He definitely didn't have the skill set to do that. And so when you're looking for that, you can't necessarily heal, like you said, the father wound.
Yeah. Or, you know, something that I can really relate to is just plopping it into men that seem to fit, even though they have no idea that I'm over here, you know, making them into the father. And I think that women do that actually. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, they do it a lot with their bosses. I just commented on one of your posts about this, where they're finding that daddy energy in the boss, and the boss isn't like even committing because he may not even know, you know, it's really, really quite thick, like this father wound. It can get really intense. But I love what you shared about women being vulnerable and speaking about like how they feel sexually. In fact, that was actually how my first marriage sort of deteriorated. I became really confident in speaking. So men, sometimes the response is to run away, actually, believe it or not. If they're not ready for that level of vulnerability or that level of like openness, I have had men literally be like, and like, because I'm over here, like, you know, like it's like this, I call it like the Disney princess archetype. It's like I love bomb them, but it's like a real love bomb. Like I'm still open and love bombing. And like it's like a nice, clean love bomb where it's like, I love you. And then they're like, ah, and it can feel like a narcissist, really, where she loves bombs you and then takes her love away.
Mm-hmm.
So relatably to what you shared, where you penetrate women, it's the same for me with men. Like I can really get men to, they're like, I don't know what's going on with my system. But like
Right.
what I find is like if a man will meet a woman in the level of vulnerability, women expect them to meet them with open arms, but that's not always the case. And that's like the expectation piece. But like for me personally, anytime I go down there with like into what I like and how I feel, masculine men want that. They're gonna meet you in that place. Do you agree with that?
Look, I always say masculine men love the sexually confident woman,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Yeah.
it's not scary. It's not something to run away from. It's not whatever. See, the men that run away from that, they're not sexually confident in themselves for whatever reason, but
Yeah.
they have to dig deep to say, well, why does it bother me when a woman is extremely sexually confident? No, the masculine man is saying, let's go, baby. I'm ready
Yeah,
for you.
that's it. Yeah,
Right?
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's
The
so
energy, they come off with that swagger that says, I'm here. I already understand you. We're already speaking that same language. But of course, Oh, and another thing too, we spoken about expectations. Women have to understand that you might be sexually confident. Don't always expect the man you meet to have that already. That's
Yeah.
why, you have to see where he is. But I would say that the men that are for you, they're not going to run. They're not going to be scared. They're not going to feel like, oh my God, this is weird. And, they're not going to call you names or make it awkward. No, you're going to feel comfortable. You're going to see their energy, their confidence, and say, okay, I'm at home.
I love that. I will say from my personal experience, I have big sexual energy, like really big levels of confidence. So far, let's see what GOD's taking home for Aasha T. But the last one was great. Like we had such sexual chemistry, but ultimately he couldn't handle like it was mostly the attention from outside men. And but we had a great relationship. I still think he'll come back at some point. So, he was a great guy. But yeah, like you're right. Like, and I will say, I know where we're headed in the collective. I mean, I'm opening women up to these high levels of sexual energy. It's about the feminine stability. If he does leave, if she is open, it doesn't
Mhm.
mean that, like, the feminine's not going to have emotions and
Right.
sadness because that's natural, right? Like we're humans and we're creating these connections. It's very painful.
Mhm.
And she also has to like move on. There's always going to be a man that is going to match her. Not even, there's always going to be a man that has bigger confidence than her. Always. That's why it's like you don't ever need to dumb down for a man. A man is always going to, that is how it is like designed by like the
Right.
infinite design of the divine design.
In the book, I talk about when a woman has low confidence, right? How low self-esteem, excuse me. Low self-esteem is going to dictate who you date, right? It's going to dictate who you have sex with. It's going to dictate how you feel about yourself. It's going to dictate what you eat. It's going to dictate so many other things, right? That when you have low self-esteem, you're naturally going to match with a man who's insecure. You're naturally going to match with a man who's going through his own situations or whatever. That's why you have to build up your confidence. And I always say this, women with low self-esteem unfortunately destroy relationships
Yeah.
because everything's going to make them jealous. Everything's going to make them say, I'm not good enough. I feel small. I feel insecure in this moment, etc. Right? That's why you have to really look at yourself and say, well, and of course, some women they're like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm outdoing the man or I'm doing, I guess, doing too much, or like you said, I have big confidence. Trust me, the right man, you're never too confident for the right man.
Yeah.
Never too confident for the right man.
Yeah.
He's because he's already there. Like where you're trying to go, he's already there, and that's how it's supposed to be. So he can further, lead the situation.
I love that. I agree. And there's a lot in there because I also like when we talk about energetics, the feminine's energy grows first. There's going to be periods where perhaps her energy is expanding more than the masculine is ready to expand in the moment because that's actually law.
Mhm.
Her energy, like, because we move emotions first before we take action. That's another example of the feminine moving first. So there's sometimes these periods where she expands and he may even ricochet away completely, where he can come back after like an insight, or she's still initiating and then he's initiating off of her energy. It's really, really powerful because I think that what you're sharing is amazing. And I want to hear your take on like relationships with trauma. Like we all have our shit, if so, like in a way, I kind of hold both. I'm like, I try to tell women, look, if you see something amazing in a man, don't worry
Mhm.
about the trauma. The trauma can be cleared. If both of you are willing to clear the trauma,
Right,
then the relationship can work. I want to
right.
hear your perspective on that. Just because, like, I just don't think that people are always like perfect specimens when they come up. So, you know what I'm
So,
saying?
so some people they have this idea of, oh, I'm working on myself. I'm working on myself. And they're trying to get to this level of perfection before they enter a relationship. And that can be unhealthy, right? You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be this, oh my God, I'm just so healed and I'm just so ready to take on the world. What you will be is you will get to a certain point in your healing where you're ready to receive someone amazing.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to kind of look at it. So trauma, we all have trauma. And that's the thing. This notion of well, I have trauma, but this person looks like they don't have trauma. No, they got some shit too, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I always say, social media is the digital place where people hide their shit. You
I
know,
know.
it's the highlight reel, right? It's the, everything's going great, etc. And to some degree, that's reasonable, but these are still humans. They're
Yeah.
still dealing with real problems. They're still dealing with real shit that happened to them.
Oh
They're
yeah.
still reacting, right? They're still responding as well. It's just up to each person to say, instead of me projecting on others, instead of me blaming others, instead of me just trying to make what I'm going through someone else's responsibility, let me take hold of this.
Love that. Love that. Oh my God. So good. Such wisdom. And I talk about that a lot because I'm all about authentic vibes. And like as much as I possibly can, just keep it real with my audience and my clients. Cause I'm like, look, I'm no different than you. I've gone through it. I just have more resilience and I'm at a different level. But it's the same
Right.
shit. That's why you don't stop. And as far as I know, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but when you meet a woman, you're still gonna have to recalibrate. You still have to come into like it's like almost like your energy is like have to fit together in a
Mhm.
way, and that requires some sort of like recalibration. And in fact, sometimes like the last man that I was with, which was a couple of few years ago now, he and when we got together, I was actually mourning him. Like I was like, oh my God, he's gonna die. Like all of
Mm.
these really intense emotions started coming forward because like the connection is so deep and rich when
Mm.
we get to this high level of consciousness. Can you relate to that at all, or like anything you want to share on that piece?
Well, I mean, you were going through probably one of the deepest emotional states, and you were trying to figure out the answers. Trying to say, okay, which route should I go in? And that's
Mhm.
another thing too. Is like when something happens, people are always looking for like the perfect way to grieve over something
Yeah.
and or deal with it. And there is no. And in fact, I have a chapter called "Dealing with Grief" and the new audiobook
Yeah.
because
Wow.
people think like, okay, maybe there is a certain way I need to grieve because you're still trying to hold on to your perfect image, right? And there is no such thing. You have to present the authentic self to heal. Like, hey, you know what? I am dealing with this. And some people, they'll be going through some real shit and they won't even say I'm hurt. And they'll really be hurt. They'll really be traumatized. They'll really be feeling all these feelings instead of saying, you know what? Let me take a breather and admit I am hurt. I'm disappointed. I'm traumatized. I want to hurt someone
Yeah.
sometime,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Right. So it's really saying, for me, this is the best way for me to deal with this, whether it's relationships or otherwise.
I love that because there's this epic doctor. Her name is Dr. Susan Anderson. I can send you a link. She does this technique on abandonment where we move through certain like five emotions, and it's actually like rinse and repeat. So like you might even think that you're over it, and then all of a sudden, he comes back and looks at you, or she comes back and looks at you, and now you're back in this cycle of abandonment and how thick and deep it can get. And like how you have to hit that grief. You have to like enjoy the victim every once in a while. I always say to my girls, I'm like, get in there, but don't stay in there. Like, don't stay in there too long, but you have to feel the shame. You have to
Mm.
feel grief, but do not stay in that place. My God, I was in shame when I saw like my avoidance in my first relationship. So it'd be like like perhaps like your first wife. When I had to look at that, I was burning in hell. I was in shame for far too long. In fact, I was in such shame that the next man that I called in, I gave him my power because I
Mm.
was so embarrassed about how masculinized I was in the first dynamic that I was like,
Mm.
oh, I must like lose myself and this man knows more than me. And it's
Ah,
great. It's great.
right.
Yeah. It's great because it gave me like the insights to write the book. You know what I mean? The book is about those dynamics, but like My God, I don't know if have you ever like, can you tell us a little bit like vulnerably what it's like, what it's been like for you to face those like avoidance programs or any sort of like any of those types of things? Because as a leader, I always say if you didn't have any narcissism as a leader, you're just not that powerful.
Well, it's like Jesse Elder says, I'm full of myself because who else would I be full of?
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
That's it. Yes.
But I've had deep moments where I was avoiding. Yeah, of course. I was avoiding responsibility. I was avoiding, her emotions. And that's why I tell men, in my book for men, it's called When Men Were Men, you
Mhm.
have to embody emotional mastery, right? Because a lot of times, unfortunately, in a lot of relationships today, there's a competition of emotions. It's like people are saying, or the woman and the man are saying, my emotions are more important than your emotions. And that's completely unhealthy. So there was a many moments where I'm avoiding. I wouldn't say running necessarily, but I'm walking fast away from the issue.
Yeah.
Right? I'm power walking away from facing it and saying, you know what? I didn't create a safe space for this woman to be vulnerable, and
Mhm.
that's probably why she's feeling this way.
Yeah.
I didn't because it's all about my hurt matters more than your hurt.
Mhm. Mhm.
My pain matters more than your pain. Um, I feel this way, and it's the most important thing in life right now. And I always tell people, don't worship your emotions, honor them.
Honor them. Yeah.
Like, really feel what you're feeling, say what you need to say. But what we have egos, so we say what we need to say, but we put extras on it. And so the extras is what caused the disconnect. And
Sure.
so when you say what you need to say plainly, respectfully, bluntly, but still, with tact, class, it kind of says, okay, now this person can understand you. They can humanize you.
Yeah.
So in avoiding pain, or like I say, walking away fast, I had to stop. I had to stop and measure, okay, it's not about if my pain is more important than her pain.
Mhm.
Because, and so I want to say this point too.
Yeah.
When the relationship is doing bad, both of you are experiencing pain. It's
Yeah.
not about the disappointment of who's more disappointed. You both are disappointed. You both feel horrible. Like no one wants their relationship to be in a bad spot.
Yeah.
But if one party's avoiding, if one party's putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of acting like nothing's wrong, right? Then that's what creates the issues. And I will be honest, there were times where I was an Oscar worthy performer, right? Of avoiding pain, pretending like nothing's wrong, pretending like, oh, it's okay, we're just gonna move on. And all you're doing is putting the problems on layaway. You're just stockpiling it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Instead of getting to the root, and there's so much wisdom in that, I think that like that is really truly the culprit of sort of these disconnects that can happen in relationships. And really, from my perspective as well, how many people get in on trauma in the first place and not actually aligned vision and mission. If you're
Right,
actually aligned to your vision and your mission and your purpose, you're going to meet people in that aligned place, men and women. And
right,
and it can be anything. A woman's purpose could be to be a mom and, a farmer. If she stays on that line, she's going to meet the man that is, designed for her to bring that particular vision for herself forward for herself. So good. There's so much there. And, I think what you're describing really is emotional intelligence. I say this all the time to my clients. Please don't bring like your chargy, dirty emotions to your relationship as best you can. As a woman and as a man, we have responsibilities. Like it is not a man's job to fix your emotions. It never will be his job. He can support you. He can probably give you some insights that you won't listen to because you've got some, usually you can't see it, right?
right.
But at the same time, I think a lot of women confuse vulnerability with like these chargy emotions that they bring. And so what I like to say is like if you're feeling it coming up, you might need to just step back. I used to like go in And I'd be like, we gotta fix this now. And now, like, now I'm like, ooh, there's something going on in my body. I gotta step back and figure out what that is. And I think a responsible man, even if it hurts her, is going to do that,
Mhm.
regardless of her trauma and her dramatic response to him. Where are you going? If he's a real man, he's gonna back up and go. And I actually feel the same for the feminine, where I think that she should be like, no, I need a moment. I need a moment. Like love is space as well. I can't see anything while I'm in the midst of this dynamic in the moment. Yeah, emotional intelligence.
I always say, well, I wrote a status that said, men must learn how to master their emotions, and women must learn to sit with their emotions and express them.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. And I will say, I do think that sometimes women bring like a little bit of a whiny emotion to their husband. And I'm like, please don't do that. Just get a sister circle. Like find
Yeah,
a, like get a sounding board. Show up as like a queen, as a woman that has, I truly believe that's the only thing that makes a woman high value is her ability to handle like a certain level of stoicism in the way that she shows up with men. That's
absolutely.
penetratable, it's like when a woman, I always say to like ladies, I'm like, when you feel like a cheese board, because like you're like dealing with all these stories, it doesn't feel like someplace that a masculine man like wants to land.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always say that it's great. Hey, you're a queen, or you're these great titles. That's wonderful. But who are you calling when you need instructions? Who are you calling when you need support? Who are you calling when there's no denying that there's a problem and you need that space to be completely vulnerable to say, I need help with X problem?
Yeah. 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 I love that. There's nothing like masculine direction. I have had so many amazing, I call like my men in as coaches typically, and
Mhm.
so far, and it's been like the most amazing thing. You just are like, oh my God, like it just starts to like men want to serve women. It's just amazing when you really see it. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. Like if they want to, and if they don't want to, I think that's the thing that women can tend to get hurt if they don't. They have like an
Mhm.
expectation on that service piece. And I'm like,
Right.
if he's not serving you, there is a reason you're not inspiring him or you're not doing what you said you want to do. I was a
Right.
queen of that. I'm like, oh, I want this, this, and this. But then I just run for myself. And my first husband was serving me. He was like, let's go. You want that? Let's do that. And then lost himself in it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Definitely, definitely, definitely. It's the expectation piece that kills women,
I know.
because sometimes you're expecting someone to do something that they don't have the capacity to do
Yeah. Or the desire.
or the desire, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, it's just the biggest thing I think that women can't maybe even see. When I started to see it, I was like, all right, nobody's doing this for me because I'm not showing up for myself. You
Mhm.
know, really powerful. This has been such an awesome chat. We've got a few things in the chat I want to read. Hold on one second. Okay, so we've got Elishiva again saying, I'm going through this right now. I think it's about the vulnerability piece. I'm talking to a really masculine man. His energy makes me nervous with a capital N. I've been meeting more and more men like this, and it's wild. Ella Shiva is a client of mine. She's amazing. I don't know if she follows you. Um, and then we've got Allison saying, this sounds like such an engaging, insightful conversation. And then Amelie is just saying, hi. Is there okay? So I want to talk to you. We've got quite a few people still watching. So can you tell me like where the women can find you, like in men as well? Because I mean, you have so many things that you're offering. So what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Definitely 100% on Facebook
Yeah.
under my Facebook name, Intellectual Sniper, JC Author. Of course, they can message me, inbox me. That's probably the most efficient way to
Mhm.
definitely get in touch with me.
Okay, awesome. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in your book, the book, the Amazon link, The Day She Learned Chess, The Day That
Absolutely.
She Learned Chess. This is awesome. I can't wait to pick this up. And then you also said that you have a freebie for the women watching. Possibly if they reach out to you, they can go ahead and get a freebie, a free chapter. Is that right?
Yeah, if they reach out to me, I will definitely forward them a free chapter of the new audiobook, Chess 2.
Yes.
And there definitely get some goodies from that.
I am so excited that we had the chance to chat today. You are so awesome. I just love your energy and you know so much about polarity and like such an easy way that you describe it and it's so digestible and like I love that you're like so down to earth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have, we're coaches, we're mentors. You got to meet people where they are. I get it, and excuse the background noise, but I get it. Sometimes coaches have this I'm up here type of
Yeah.
thing, and I'm looking down on you peasants, you
Yeah, yeah.
know, you, you
Yeah.
roaches. I can't, but at the same time, in order to be an effective leader, you have to go where they are. They're hurt, they're vulnerable, they're disappointed, they have a twisted view on the world, and you as a leader or a mentor can help them with that. Now you can't force them to do anything, but you can give them the insight to
Mhm.
have a mental shift that can change their life.
It's so true. And like I said too, it's like this way that you describe it that just it's like it just makes sense. I love that. I think that I wonder what you are in human design. Do you happen to know anything about human design?
I People tell me about this all the time. I do not
Yeah.
know much
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I say this to Eli Marcus as well. I'm like, I wonder if you're a 5-1. It's basically if you're 5-1 or you have a 1 line or 5 line in your human design, it just means that you're like here for the people. And so
Mm,
like you take something that's like esoteric and difficult to comprehend and you make it easy to comprehend, which is my role actually in this lifetime with energy work. Like I'm trying to make energy work is like as simple and easy as like going to get your nails done. Like you go get an energy session once a month. Every single woman's
mm,
doing that. That's my goal is to get women doing energy work like once to twice a month, no matter who they are.
right.
Yeah, instead of going to like buy shoes, they go get energy work. And so I'm like just constantly thinking about how can I make this easier for women to understand and men to understand, you know? Because I believe women not doing energy work and emotional intelligence is weaponry against humanity. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like it's affecting families, it's affecting the children, it's affecting generations and generations of and men are, committing suicide at 4 times the rate since COVID. Like women that are not in love and feminine energy are the catapult for separation.
Mm,
95% of the energy in the planet. That's massive.
wow.
Yeah. So yeah. So
That kind of digs back into the, like I said, I'd say it all the time. Don't worship your emotions, honor your emotions, honor what's really coming through, honor what's really going on with you.
yeah. And the deeper a woman can feel, everybody gets affected by that. And
Mm,
men grow stronger around that energy. She's filling him
right.
up with love because her love is going to amplify the masculine with whatever he has inside of his own cooker and his space and his own energy. And so that's why women have to be really choice about who they choose. And also, more importantly, they have to be in a place where they are loved because further that a woman is not penetrable if she is dealing with her own shit as well. So it's like really
Absolutely.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. We're doing really good work. You're amazing. Thank you so much. We've got
Thank
another
you.
comment. Someone's just saying, oh yeah. Um, she said, I'm here to serve. They can understand. Uh, I don't understand what she's saying here, honey. It sounds like she's saying she's agreeing that she's also a 5 line. She's here to help
Oh,
people.
okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Amazing.
Cool.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Jamar. And I'm going to just go ahead and put that link again on this recording. It's in the group. And anybody who wants to get in touch with JC, just reach out to him and friend him on Facebook. He is a wealth of knowledge. And I'm so grateful that you joined me today. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for your platform, your work, your reach. And of course, you're engaging, you engage with some of my page. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much, love. And we'll be in touch. All right. Thank you. Bye.
All
Bye,
right, guys. Thank you.
everybody. Bye.